Where did we come from? The story of human origins. Once upon a very, very long time ago, long before cities, smartphones, or even shoes, there were questions, big ones, like where did humans come from? And how did we get here? Today, there are two major ideas competing for the spotlight: evolution and creationism. Let's start with evolution, the scientific favorite. It all began with a curious man named Charles Darwin, who looked at nature and saw something incredible. He saw that life changes, species evolve, and so does humans? According to Darwin, we didn't just pop into existence. We're part of a long, winding family tree that goes back millions of years. So what are our closest cousins? Many believe that apes are. In fact, modern humans and modern apes share a common ancestor, some ancient primate swinging through the trees of deep time. Since Darwin's day, scientists from every corner of the world, biologists, geologists, anthropologists, and archaeologists have put his idea to the test. With mountains of fossils, DNA, and evidence from all around the globe, evolution has grown from a hypothesis into a robust, widely accepted theory. But that's not the only tale in town. Enter creationism, the idea that humans were made by a divine being, like God. This belief is especially strong among followers of major religions like Christianity. And it's rooted in sacred texts that tell of humans being created with purpose, often in a single miraculous moment. Some folks find the middle ground in what's called theistic evolution, or guided evolution. This idea says, hey, maybe evolution is real, but it's not random. Maybe a divine force nudged things along. And just when you thought the story couldn't get wilder, the internet enters the chat. There's also a fringe theory called ancient alien creationism. Yes, aliens. According to this view, humanity was engineered by extraterrestrials. Think space labs, genetic experiments, and mysterious visitors from the stars. No scientific backing here, but it's certainly imaginative. So, whether you see yourself as the proud product of millions of years of evolution, the miraculous work of a creator, or a cosmic project by aliens, one thing is clear: humans have never stopped wondering where we come from. And the search? It's still going on. The story of our origins, the tale of humanity's beginning, is a long, winding journey through time. One that scientists have, over the years, tried to divide into 3 sweeping chapters. The first chapter is the age of the ancient apes, our earliest tree-dwelling ancestors. The second, a murky middle ground, is the half-ape, half-human stage, where creatures were caught in the transition between instinct and insight. And finally comes the third chapter, the age of tool-making humans, the birth of true humanity. This last phase unfolds in 2 acts: the time of Homo erectus, meaning ape man, and the time of Homo sapiens, meaning wise humans, each with its own early and late periods. In 1859, the world was shaken by a bold new idea. British biologist Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species, revealing that life on Earth had evolved from simple to complex forms. It was a revolutionary claim that all living things, including humans, were connected through the great web of evolution. Then, in 1871, Darwin followed up with The Descent of Man, laying out evidence that humans evolved from extinct ancient apes. Yet Darwin didn't fully grasp what set humans apart from animals, nor could he explain how those ancient apes had made the leap into humanity. It was Frederick Ingalls, a German philosopher and collaborator of Karl Marx who took the idea further. In 1876, he wrote an essay titled "The Role of Labor in the Transition from Ape to Man," where he offered a powerful idea. Labor created humanity. According to Engels, it wasn't just biology that made us human. It was the act of working, or using our hands with purpose, that truly separated us from animals. Engels described a vivid scene. Long ago, ancient apes lived in groups, swinging through the tropical forests of Earth's warmer regions. But some of them, driven by the search for food, descended from the trees and began to walk upright. Freed from the need to use their forelimbs for walking, they started using sticks and stones as tools. Over time, they learned to make those tools with their hands, an act that required planning, thought, and intention. As this happened, their bodies evolved, their brains grew larger, their movements became more refined. They began to take on the defining traits of humanity. Engels gave names to these ancient actors in our evolutionary story. The tree-dwelling apes he called the tree-climbing ape groups. Those in the transitional phase he called humans in the making. And those who could shape tools with their own hands he honored as the fully formed humans. With every fossil discovered, every ancient footprint uncovered, and every advancement in dating methods, our understanding of human origins has grown deeper and clearer. While many questions remain, the broad outlines of this epic journey from forest-dwelling apes to thinking, tool-making humans have come into view. It is a story not just of evolution, but of becoming, a slow, remarkable transformation that gave rise to us all. From forest swingers to tool makers, the epic transition from ape to human. Our human story didn't begin with pyramids or fire. It began millions of years ago in a world teeming with ancient creatures, long before anyone even imagined walking on two legs or building civilizations. Scientists believe we humans originated in the Cenozoic era, an era split into two big chapters, the Tertiary period and the Quaternary period. During the Oligocene epoch of the Tertiary period, something extraordinary happened. Apes split off from monkeys, starting a chain reaction that would eventually lead to us. How do we know this? Well, the rocks have secrets, and they've told us their story in the form of fossils. Here are some of the legendary ancestors and key discoveries that help us piece together the great transition from ape to human. In 1911, deep in the sands of Fayum, Egypt, scientists unearthed Propleopithecus, or the original ape. This creature lived between 35 to 30 million years ago and holds the title of the earliest known ancient ape. Then came the discovery of Egyptopithecus, or the Egyptian ape, found between 1966 and 1967, also in Fayum. These apes thrived between 28 to 26 million years ago, their fossils whispering secrets of life in ancient tropical forests. In 1856, fossil hunters in France stumbled upon the remains of the Dryopithecus, the forest ape. This species roamed between 23 and 10 million years ago, branching off into various lineages, among them the mighty Gigantopithecus, the Sivapithecus, and the Ramapithecus. In 1932, high in the Siwalik Hills of northern India, the fossils of Ramapithecus were discovered. These creatures, living between 14 and 7 million years ago, are thought to be among the first beings on the threshold between ape and human, a crucial step in the evolutionary journey. Then, in 1924, a small skull was found in Tong, South Africa. It belonged to Australopithecus, the southern ape, who lived between 2 to 3 million years ago. Unlike its predecessors, Australopithecus, walked upright and represents a definitive bridge from ape to human. Over millions of years, these remarkable beings didn't just adapt to their changing environments, they learned to use nature's tools. And eventually they went one step further. They began making tools themselves. Now here's the mind-blowing part. Making tools isn't just using rocks. It means planning, thinking ahead, and acting with intention. This moment, when our ancestors didn't just use tools, but create them, marked a huge leap in evolution. It was the end of the in-between stage, the final step in the transformation from ape to fully formed human. With tools in hand and minds set ablaze with creativity, our ancient ancestors walked into the next chapter of human evolution, and they never looked back. The earliest members of the genus Homo. After the long and winding transition from ape to human, the story of humankind was far from finished. Our bodies, minds, and cultures continue to evolve. And so did the way scientists tried to understand that evolution. To chart this journey, scholars around the world developed two main timelines. One divides the human lineage into three stages: Australopithecus, meaning southern apes, Homo erectus, meaning upright man, and Homo sapiens, meaning wise man. With Homo sapiens further split into earlier and late modern humans, the other classification, now more widely accepted, separates the first toolmakers from their ape-like predecessors and gives them their own chapter. The earliest members of the genus Homo. What follows are the stages of Homo erectus, early Homo sapiens, and finally, late Homo sapiens. So who were these mysterious earliest humans? The spotlight first shines on Homo habilis, often called handyman, the earliest known species in our genus who could make tools rather than just use found objects. Homo habilis lived around 1.8 million years ago, and their fossils were first unearthed in 1960 in Tanzania's Alduve Gorge, a dry, windswept canyon that became one of the most famous fossil sites in the world. Then, in 1972, on the eastern shores of Lake Turkana in Kenya, a shattered skull, more than 150 fragments, was discovered in Kubi Fora. Dated to 2.9 million years ago, this fossil puzzled scientists. Unlike many early human ancestors, it lacked a prominent brow ridge, making its exact place in the evolutionary tree a matter of spirited debate. But perhaps the most breathtaking clue came in 1978 when British anthropologist Mary Leakey was excavating the Laetoli region of Tanzania. There, in ancient volcanic ash, preserved for over 3.6 to 3.8 million years, were two sets of footprints, one large, one small, walking side by side. The prints had rounded heels and forward-facing big toes aligned with the other toes, just like modern human feet. It was as if two ancient beings had strolled through time, leaving behind a perfect signature of upright walking. These footprints and the nearby fossils are now believed to be the earliest physical evidence of the genus Homo ever found. And so, step by step, bone by bone, footprint by footprint, the story of humanity's beginnings continues to unfold, reaching ever deeper into time, revealing the quiet miracles that shaped who we are. Homo erectus, the upright walker. Long before cities rose, languages formed, or history was written, a remarkable kind of human walked the earth, Homo erectus, the upright man. This ancient ancestor lived between 1.7 or 1.5 million years ago, and as recently as 300,000 to 200,000 years ago. They marked a bold new chapter in the story of human evolution, not just surviving, but thriving across continents, learning, adapting, and leaving behind clues that we still uncover today. What set Homo erectus apart? Their brains were larger, growing from about 800 to 1200 milliliters, a significant leap from their predecessors. Their skulls were low and thick, with heavy brow ridges and strong bones, but inside, a growing brain hinted at something new, a spark of thought, of complexity. Some anthropologists even believe Homo erectus had the beginnings of spoken language, perhaps the first voices ever to echo through prehistoric landscapes. At an average height of 160 centimeters, or about 5 feet 3 inches, they stood much taller than Australopithecus, and their legs were long and strong. Built for endurance and travel, their skeletons showed a striking resemblance to modern humans, upright, balanced, efficient walkers. By this point, the human gait, that confident, two-legged stride, was fully developed. The story of Homo erectus first came to light in 1890 when Dutch anatomist Eugene de Bois made a groundbreaking discovery near Trinil on the island of Java in Indonesia. There he unearthed fossils that would change history. 2 years later, in 1892, he found a femur, strikingly similar to that of modern humans, confirming that this ancient being walked like we do. Then, in 1929, halfway around the world in Zhoukoudian, China, another historic discovery was made. The first skull of Peking man, another Homo erectus, carefully preserved in stone and time. Over the decades, more fossils were uncovered across Europe, Asia, and Africa, revealing that Homo erectus was the first of our kind to migrate far and wide, adapting to different climates and challenges. In China alone, more than a dozen sites have revealed remains of this ancient species. Not just Peking man, but also the Yuanmo man, the Lantian man, and Hexian man, each adding a brushstroke to the portrait of early humanity. Homo erectus was a trailblazer, a traveler, a learner, a survivor. They stood tall, looked forward, and unknowingly paved the path to us. The early wise ones, Homo sapiens, begin to rise. Between 250,000 and 40,000 years ago, the Earth was home to a new kind of human, early Homo sapiens, the early wise ones. They were not quite like us, yet they walked the same ground, gazed at the same stars, and shaped the first glimmers of what we would one day call civilization. These early humans look strikingly similar to modern people. Their brains were large, ranging from 1,300 to 1,750 milliliters, nearly as developed as ours today. But traces of their ancient past still linger in their faces and bones. Thick brow ridges, sloping foreheads, broad noses, projecting jaws, and chins that hadn't quite formed. They stood at the crossroads of the past and the future, modern in potential, primitive in appearance. Scientists generally agree that early Homo sapiens evolved from Homo erectus, gradually shedding the physical traits of their ancestors while gaining the cognitive and cultural capabilities that would shape humanity's future. The first clue to their existence came in 1856 in the quiet valley of Dusseldorf, Germany. There, in a limestone cave in the Neander Valley, workers stumbled upon the remains of a strange being, not quite ape and not quite modern man. It was the world's first discovery of an early Homo sapiens fossil, and it gave rise to a name that would echo through history: Neanderthal. For many years, these beings were simply called Neanderthals, or simply N-men. Once thought brutish and slow, we now know they were far more sophisticated. They crafted tools, buried their dead, and may have even used language. Their story, once dismissed, is now understood as a vital chapter in our shaped human heritage. Early Homo sapiens were the dawn before the day, the silent architects of the human story. They lived, struggled, adapted, and slowly, steadily became us. The late wise ones, the dawn of modern humans. As the Ice Age world shifted and the ancient fires burned in distant caves, a new kind of human emerged. The late Homo sapiens, also known as modern humans. They lived between 40,000 to 10,000 years ago, and with them the final transformation from ancient to modern was nearly complete. These late-stage humans looked so much like us, you might not tell the difference if they walked by you on the street. Their brow ridges had faded, their skulls had grown taller, their jaws had drawn inward, and their chins had become fully formed. The defining features of modern humanity. Their bodies, their brains, their bones, all echoed who we are today. And they were everywhere. Fossils of these humans have been found not only across Europe, Asia, and Africa, but also in Oceania, marking their presence across nearly every corner of the ancient world. The first known discovery of this kind came in 1868 in a cave in Cro-Magnon, France. The skeletons found there were so strikingly similar to modern Europeans that scientists named them the Cro-Magnon people, the earliest discovered representatives of late Homo sapiens. These fossils, scattered across continents and carrying distinct regional features, tell a deeper story. By the time of the late Homo sapiens, modern human races were already forming. Physical differences were emerging, not signs of division, but of adaptation to different lands, climates, and ways of life. Still, the story of the late Homo sapiens is a story of arrival. After millions of years of slow change, of stone tools and wandering migrations, humanity had stepped into its final form. The late wise ones were artists, hunters, builders, and dreamers. They buried their dead with care. They painted animals on cave walls. They crossed seas and mountains. They were, at last, us.